video, we're going to talk about how we can leverage AI in order to create user personas more easily and in a more streamlined way. Now, this is going to depend on several different factors and especially what your client is going to enable you to have access in terms of data and also what are the options at your disposal essentially. But going straight to the main point of the video, we are going to essentially have four main options, or at least these are the options that I used in my over a decade of working in this field. Not specifically with AI, since it's a new recent thing, but when it comes to gathering user personas and creating user personas, we can leverage either data or we can go with the best guess. So data is obviously the most accurate way to go about it. So by data, we're going to refer to, for example, user interviews. So if you can have access to user interviews which were previously recorded, or if you can do them yourself, even better, or even questionnaires and surveys to the target market, or even product analytics. And we're going to go into each and every one of these in detail in just a moment. But these are going to be analytics, for example, from the website or any of their social platforms even. And of course, there's going to be the best guess methodology, which is essentially brainstorming based on what we think are going to be the user personas of the company that we are developing. So we're going to focus on ChatGPT, of course, because it's the main AI tool at this time. And you can also consider using Claude, for example, but I would strongly encourage you to just focus on ChatGPT, since also all of the main tools are actually structured around ChatGPT. So OpenAI is definitely the leader. That being said, let's go and let's talk about the very first use case, which is going to be user interviews. Now, you can leverage ChatGPT and AI in order to use the material that you recorded in the user interviews. And what you need to do is, since at this moment there isn't the ability to drop a audio file directly and have ChatGPT analyze it, you're going to need a transcript. And personally, I like to use this tool, which is Quick Scribe, which is going to enable you to basically have a transcript. And the way that you record these sessions is going to be quite straightforward. I recently got back from a workshop in London with one of the top managers in the company that I'm working with. And basically, we were tackling a complex project, and I simply used my iPhone to record what was the main point of discussion. And after that, I went and used Quick Scribe to get a transcript. And then I simply asked ChatGPT, can you create user personas, or in my case, analyze this data in order to achieve X, Y, Z outcome. So that is going to be quite straightforward. Alternatively, if you're doing these user interviews online via Zoom, via Hangouts, you can simply use Crisp, which is a free tool that is going to basically sync as a microphone. And not only it's going to do the noise cancellation, but it's also going to create the transcript automatically. So Crisp AI, I believe it's called, is definitely one of those tools that you want to keep at hand at all times. I personally use it for pretty much all of my client calls, because then I have the transcript that then I can reverse engineer, even to create a summary of a meeting or pretty much anything when it comes to UI UX projects. So that is going to be the first use case. So gathering data from user interviews, and then you can ask ChatGPT to simply create a user persona based on that interview or that series of interviews. And you can ask it to create multiple personas, or simply create the minimum common denominator between all of the different interviews, and you can have a single persona at hand. That would be the first case. The second one is going to be analyzing questionnaires and surveys. And by the way, you can mix and match all of these data points. So you don't necessarily need to create a user persona just based on one or two of these methods, but you can mix and match them. So the more data, the more useful it's going to be for analyzing and creating a user persona which is going to resonate with the company needs, wants, and desires. So this is going to be, again, quite straightforward, even more simple workflow because you're simply going to have text data right away. So you can just drop it into ChatGPT and ask it to analyze to create a user persona. So this one is going to be quite straightforward. And of course, also product analytics. This is going to be super useful. And for the very most part, you're going to leverage, for example, the website's analytics because it's going to have all sorts of different informations about the demographics, things like age, location, and anything which is going to be quite useful to have as a base. And you can also use social media. For example, on YouTube, you can find also all sorts of different analytics, but the same is going to be applicable for other social media platforms that the client that you're working with might have, such as Twitter or Instagram. So the more the better. And then again, you can simply drop it into ChatGPT and go with a very simple prompt. Even the prompting is not very complex in this case. Of course, you might want to dig, but the main issue, the main prompt that you want to ask ChatGPT is just to create user personas based on the data that you feed it, or what are going to be the common personality traits, what are going to be the common the minimum common denominators based on the data that you acquired, and also what you think could be useful to add as an insight. So this is going to be quite straightforward again, because you can simply extract the data. You can, and if you don't have the ability to export, ChatGPT can read images. So you can simply take a screenshot of the entire dashboard, for example, just drop it into ChatGPT and it's going to do its magic. So this is going to be quite useful and straightforward for the most part. Or you can simply use ChatGPT either solo or in a team in order to brainstorm with the best guess methodology, which in essence, it's going to be using what you think, using the data that you have at hand, or simply your creativity in order to think about who might be the target audience. And you can essentially use ChatGPT almost as an assistant that you can bounce ideas with and then ultimately go ahead and create the persona. And then after that, you're going to be able to go on Figma community, find a user persona template, or go on Canva and find there a user persona template, and basically fill it up and add this user persona to your project. So this is pretty much it when it comes to the flow, and we're going to move on with the very next video.